On this episode of the Star Trek Universe podcast, we are talking about the freaking Star Trek Picard trailer, the Short Treks trailer, and all the SDCC stuff. Oh, yeah.
So much. So good. Right after this. Welcome to the Star Trek Universe podcast. My name's Matthew Carroll.
I am David C. Robertson.
What is up, David C. Robertson?
Dude, okay. It was the most unfair thing ever.
Oh, yeah?
Like,
what was?
Bethany went out of town. I'm busy. You were doing like a big birthday party thing.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
And then I just started getting a flood of news coming in about everything that's happening at San Diego Comic-Con. First with Star Trek, then all the crazy Marvel shit that dropped, which we won't get into here, but
right.
Dear God.
Check the Marvel Cinematic Universe feed for that on Monday or Tuesday.
Shortly I'm on board, all of it.
Yeah, man.
And everybody's indisposed. No one can talk to me about this thing.
Yeah.
I was like, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, you texted me. You called me and you were like, hey, so I thought I would have heard from you today by now. And you had texted me a couple times, but I was like out at a birthday party, so I just totally didn't even have time to respond. We had a super soft birthday party, which meant we all went out and dressed in like boas and tiaras and unicorn stuff and like played bowling. It was a silly fun time. Let's get into the Picard trailer though. Let's dive right in because I am ready to talk about this stuff, as are you. You've been frothing at the bit. All right, Let's do it. What do you think, man? What do you think of this trailer?
I don't really have anything to say about it.
Oh yeah, me neither. Let's be done. I'm done. Well, I personally, I was surprised at how tied in to... given that it's Kurtzman, I was surprised by two major things. I was surprised how tied in it was to Nemesis.
I was not surprised. Kurtzman is a TNG fan.
Right, but being a TNG fan is different from being a Nemesis fan.
Well, actually that movie tends to get a lot more... I hear a lot of people say that, oh yeah, that was one of the good ones. And I'm just flabbergasted. Because I never really thought it was one of the great ones. At the very least, it's... Yeah. Mediocre at best, I feel.
I feel the same. But
it's subjective.
Not to be negative, I think this trailer looks amazing. Just to get the broader strokes, I think the trailer looks amazing. It has what I think we like about Discovery. It looks like it has sort of a cool aesthetic, and it looks like it's going to be an overarching story, which is some of the things that I think we like about Discovery. But
the thing about Nemesis is, if you're going to do a Picard story, if you look at Nemesis and then subsequently Star Trek 2009, those movies dug Picard two big freaking holes that you have to dig out of if you're going to do a Picard series.
Right.
And you have to say, like, okay, Commander Data did sacrifice himself, just like Picard said in the trailer, for Picard. And then you're like, Romulus blew up, which Picard cared deeply about.
Right. Well, here's the thing I wonder about, though. We didn't know Picard was involved in that from the 2009 movie. We knew Picard was involved in that from the Countdown comics.
Well, yes and no. Like, Picard was very closely associated with the Romulans diplomatically.
Sure.
In Next Generation, which is why, his involvement in the unification episodes was important as well. But there is a certain amount of the Countdown comic that is very I don't know, it might not be canon at this point. I don't know.
Yeah,
I still don't know.
Because if I'm not mistaken, doesn't the Countdown comic also include like a Captain Data? Am I wrong about that?
It does.
Yeah.
Countdown. B4 is the captain of the Enterprise in the Countdown comics. So, but as Captain Data. And, it might be, see, we don't know though, because like, we don't know if this is B4. Because when they pull out that drawer, he's battle damaged. You could see, like, they could have gone back and like tried to like grab the pieces of him.
Yeah, no. That's for sure. That the thing in the case I think is definitely Data that they grabbed from the explosion of Shinzon's ship. But yeah, I'm just curious. I thought that was B4 at the end of the trailer. I was assuming that was B4 just based on how he's acting and based on his uniform.
Well, no, if you actually look at the uniform and pause it, he's got the normal Starfleet, the orange collar that makes it look like that orange jumpsuit. But if you look right down near the bottom, you see it looks like his first contact outfit. Okay. You paused and looked closer than I did. I did. That's why I wasn't done with the thing. When we were watching it together, somehow you finished before me. That's why. I was not pausing it that last time. My thought is, and because they did this on the show, I think Picard doesn't want that card game to end because I think this is a hologram simulation that he has special access to that has Data's memory engrams input into it. Huh. I could dig that. That's my theory. I don't know if it's true. What does he say? I didn't want the game. I don't want the game to end. I can see that, Captain. It looks like they're sitting and playing chess or something. Poker, maybe. Yeah, possibly. So, really, really excited. I'm really excited to see that it looks like Brent Spiner is going to be a major part of the series. And Data as a character will be a major MacGuffin in the series, if nothing else. So we might be finally getting our search for Spock that we talked about after our Star Trek 15 search for Data, but in TV form. But then we're also combining it with the story of this girl who do you think she is? What's your first impulse? I don't know if you've done a lot of internet sleuthing or if you've read any articles. I haven't. I was talking to my friend Scott Madison of the Prime Direction podcast. Yeah. And his first thought seemed to be Lal, the daughter of Data. Maybe a combination. And my first thought was she is the daughter of Locutus and the Borg Queen. He decided that might be, but it also might be the daughter of Data and the Borg Queen. Interesting. Daughter of Data and the Borg Queen. My first thought, because she feels close to Picard, was that she might be Shinzon's daughter. That's interesting. Like maybe she's basically a direct descendant of Picard, who was, after Shinzon became ruler, had children, and then was left to fend for herself on Romulus, or maybe that's how this all ties back to Romulus. And since it seems like they're tying it so closely into Nemesis, it seems like that could be the thing. I don't know. Yeah. Just a thought. Plus, giving him a child, giving a child that is a Picard to live on his legacy would be a pretty cool thing for them to do. And it would give him a lot of things to, sort of deal with in his sort of later years. And I feel like it would nicely wrap Picard's arc from Generations. Yes, absolutely. Never having a family. It would also nicely, if he had to choose between his sort of surrogate son who sacrificed himself, if he had to choose between these two missions or had to find a balance between them, protecting and saving his daughter or doing whatever his daughter wants him to do, and then saving the son, sort of surrogate robot son that he loved, who sacrificed, that could be an interesting conflict for him. I don't know. These are all speculations, but that was my first thought. Obviously. Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. Me too. Oh man, I don't even know what to think. What is this place? What is this Borg place where the used to be Borgs? Because I don't know if you noticed, there's a Borg alcove and there's a sign, and I'm assuming it's that Borg cube that has the blue lights on it. Or the blue segments in space. Yes. But there is you see a Borg alcove and a catwalk, and looks like former Borgs looking down. Yeah, it showed a surgery of a Borg with them having their implants removed. Yeah. And then you also have a sign that says, "This facility has gone 5,843 days without assimilation." Wow. I didn't see that. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. That is sort of silly, but kind of beautiful. Right. What makes me excited about this
I was a little nervous with this whole show, because I wasn't sure how old man Picard they were going to go. Mm-hmm. And I like it because it feels like they're going old man Picard meets old man Kirk. Like, has to go on his last mission to wrap up some things that he never got to do. Like saving Data, like building a family, being the man he always was, which he always was the captain. You know, that's who he is, and who he's tried to be something different, since Nemesis, and he said it's not working for him. And the Borg has been such a big nemesis of his that I'm excited to see that they might actually like deal with what's happening with the Borg 20 years later, you know?
Yeah, I'm excited because they've said that they're planning on at least 3 seasons here.
Yeah.
You could really wrap up a whole lot in 3 seasons.
Absolutely.
You could. And there's always been stuff from Next Generation that I desperately wanted wrapped up. A lot of stuff with Picard, a lot of stuff, and not just Next Generation, but the Next Generation movies as well. So, I've always wanted to know what the hell Guinan was. So, because of the closeness of Picard and Guinan, here's hoping Guinan comes back and they explain why the hell she's an imp. But, that was a thing, Q said, that she's not what she appears to be. She's an imp.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And I've heard people say that they wanted Q to come back, but I feel like Q's storyline was really wrapped up super well in All Good Things. Like, we didn't need him in Voyager at all.
Yeah, in many ways, TNG is bookended with Q, and in many ways, it's kind of the story of Q testing them. Mm-hmm. And it ends. Like, they win, they finally sort of defeat Q. And I not defeat, but like pass his test. And I thought it was really well done. Yeah, All Good Things is so good.
How did you feel? Because you and I, neither one of us are, historically, we're on the record as not big Voyager fans. We don't care for Voyager very, very much at all.
Right.
How did you feel about 7 of 9 showing up?
Well, she did more development in that one sentence than she did it on the entire series.
That is exactly how I felt. And when she showed up, when she said, "What the hell are you doing here, Picard?" and it cuts over and we see her, and I'm like, oh shit, she's not even 7 anymore. She's Annika Hansen. Dude, upon seeing her, I screamed myself hoarse.
Oh yeah. Well, what excited me more about it than anything else, I'm excited to see 7 and 9. Excited to see her, becoming Annika like she, wanted to do. And I'm assuming she's probably working with these Borg. Like, it makes perfect sense that she would be like a Federation liaison to these ex-Borg cubes.
Yeah.
It makes absolute sense. And so if he's having to interact with them in some way, it would make a lot of sense that that's what's going on. But what excited me more than anything is that they're not afraid to pull from things that aren't TNG. Now, Voyager's not my favorite show, but the fact that they pulled 7 and 9 from Voyager means they could easily pull Kira Nerys from DS9.
If they wanted to.
Whatever. Like, whatever they want to do, they could do.
I would personally hope for Chief O'Brien, since he has a relationship with Picard.
I'd love to see Chief O'Brien, but there's just so much in the... and who knows, man, if this is a successful series and people like it, and DS9 has such a strong connection with so many people, they could absolutely bring back a similar, DS9 sequel series.
They could.
I don't know that they will. I know it's least popular among many.
My hope is only like, I would love to see more stuff. I would love to see what happened to Cisco. I doubt we will, because Avery Brooks is crazy. But
well, and that's the thing is Cisco, the way Cisco's storyline ended, they could continue the story without him. Mm-hmm. They could have Jake, there on the station being a leader, and we just watched
he's a writer, but no.
Yeah, right. No, I know, but he could. That's why I said a leader and not like the captain of the Federation. Like, he could be he could be a community leader. Is kind of what I was meaning by that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like, he could be. That makes sense. He could be an older man living on the station, kind of waiting for his father. Maybe being a writer, he's taken up writing the new chapter in the Bajoran religion because his father is maybe he's writing the history of the people or something. Like, I could absolutely see him doing that.
Wouldn't it be amazing if they did we do a DS9 series where we come back, DS9 is abandoned, and it's just basically like Harlan Ellison's Wonderland. It's like Harlan Ellison's house, but it's Jake's like writing mansion. You know, he's just there, like it's abandoned, and he's just like skittering about writing shit.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, I don't know. That just like, I don't know why that appeals to me.
Yeah,
it just does so much.
Fun.
I'm not saying there shouldn't be a story. That should just be the beginning of the story.
Right. Well, let's, I want to talk about DS9 and what they should do more, but let's talk about Picard, the thing they are doing. Any other things in the trailer that particularly stood out to you?
Let's see. I love seeing Alison Pill. Like I've said before, I enjoy her. She's playing Dr. Agnes Girardi, and she's a researcher, and she's confused with her place in the world. I'm always excited to see her. Now
I don't know
the
her.
girl, she's on the Newsroom, and she was the drummer in Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Okay. Gotcha.
Now, the girl, Isa Briones, is playing Dodge. That's the girl that, that's the girl who might be his daughter or whatever she is.
She's somebody's descendant, probably.
The Destroyer.
The Destroyer.
I was excited to see all of that. It just looks like insanity. And, one of our listeners, Nerdy-tastic on Twitter, just said she loved seeing Picard's goofy smile when he said, engage. And I did too. It was, yay, Picard.
Yeah. It felt so different. Him saying engage. It felt so different. So less sure of himself than he ever has been. Mm-hmm. But also like it felt like an old shoe, you know? I don't know. It just felt really nice.
Yeah, it did.
Completely unrelated to any of the character movements or whatever. Like, I really liked the moment when they kicked a security guard off of that tower or like that staircase and a beam caught him. Because I'm assuming that is just a safety protocol on whatever Federation base they were on.
Was that a security guard? Because I thought that was Dodge, the character, the girl.
Who fell and got, no, I thought it was a security guard. Okay. It looked like, because there was another one dressed just like him behind him, and they were running, they were chasing her, I thought. But I may be wrong, but it looked to me like, someone was kicked off of the thing, and I liked it because it was, I think it's just Federation safety protocols inside whatever area they're in is so run by the Federation that you can't fall from that height without being teleported. Mm-hmm. That's the way I took that. It's just like a safety measure, and I thought that was really cool.
That would be cool if that's what that was. Yeah. It was cool in either way. Whatever.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool either way. I like that there was a Picard day.
I love that I don't know if that was a holodeck thing or if that was like a dream sequence or whatever.
I don't think so. Based on what the character next to him is saying as well, she said, you don't remember who you are. We have, sometimes you don't remember who you are, so we do. Like they're remembering him as like this amazing captain that did so many great things for the people and then had to retire. I don't know what they think of him as exactly, but it also seemed like all of the characters that are joining up in his crew seem like maybe they grew up under his shadow, sort of. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see who all these crew members are. Yeah,
the banner, it looks like it is from the Pegasus episode. Because at the beginning of that episode, it is Captain Picard Day on the Enterprise.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and all the names were the same. Oh. That were, like, cause the kids, it was the thing that the kids did. And they drew pictures and made little, like,
okay, never mind. I'm straight up wrong.
Paper arts and stuff.
Yeah, I just assumed because it also goes with the theme, and that's why they put it there. But it goes with the theme of he was a great man, a great captain, and he's kind of forgotten himself. He's resigned to be this man living on a farm, and that's not who he is.
Which is funny because it reminds me of the comic book Kingdom Come, where like they go to get Superman, and he's just been like, since Lois died, he's just been like hanging out in like a giant holodeck that looks like the Kent farm, and he just farms this fake land.
Oh, that's so sad.
It is. The Kingdom Come is so great.
Yeah. Any other things you want to touch on in that trailer?
Not necessarily in the trailer. How did you think the Data looked?
Not good.
You didn't think he looked good?
Not the actual live version. The robot version looked great, the one that was disassembled. I thought I hate to say it this way, I'm really not normally this guy. You're normally this guy, so I'm surprised that you feel differently. Mm-hmm. I thought he looked really chubby.
I thought he looked, well, yes, but he looked exactly the way he looked in Nemesis.
Okay, that may be. I'm just remembering him from TNG more than I am Nemesis. So he looked very human. He looked very, he did look like they did a good job. I'm not, mad at them. Mm-hmm. I almost wish they could have like really done it good like Marvel does when they're de-aging stuff.
Well, I think they did, honestly.
Okay.
He looked like he did at the end of Nemesis.
Yeah, you're probably right. I have visions of him as like a, first season of TNG. That's my like current thoughts about what he looked like,
Right.
So seeing him in that, he looked a lot older, and I guess it's fine. Data can age. They've never said he can age.
They've implied that he can't, but they've also explicitly said that he does.
Right.
Now, yeah, he looked exactly to me like he did at the end of Nemesis, which is quite a feat because I don't know if you've seen Brent Spiner recently, but damn, dude got old.
Right. Well, they all did. It's been 20 years.
I just saw him in something, and he was funny. He was like a doctor. I don't remember what it was now. But he was a doctor, and he was like, "Yep, you're fine." And the guy was like, "No, I can't." Whoever it was like, "No, I can't. I'm not good. I'm there's something wrong with me, right?" And he's like, "No, you're good. You're good." He's just really nonchalant about this guy's health.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at pictures of him. He looks like his face is held up pretty well. I mean, he still looks. In just the face, he looks pretty Data-esque.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's Brent Spiner. Still the same guy.
Right. I still think he's not like Picard has aged far more than he has.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So that's why I guess the standards I was having were like, I don't think he looks that much older.
But yeah, like look him up from Nemesis though.
All right. Yeah. So, I think you're right though. I think he probably does look closer to that. I guess have it's the same problem I have with like Buffy and Angel where everyone ages but no one's supposed to. And I don't normally have a big problem with that. You're actually the one that normally brings up, Angel got fat on this season. And I'm like, I don't really notice it normally, honestly.
The reason that annoys me is he got David Boreanaz like gained weight during Angel. So by the end, he was a little tubby, and then like he like loses a ton of weight to be on Bones. And like, come on, man, you could be a normal person on Bones.
Nah, man, he had to make all the middle-aged people swoon that watch Bones. Mm-hmm. Not that I didn't watch Bones from time to time. And not that I'm not middle-aged now.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
But yeah, I'm looking up pictures of him from Nemesis as well, and I will say that in the Picard trailer he looks a little airbrushed. He looks a little younger than he should.
Okay.
He looks the same amount as Tubby, but he's still
right.
He looks a little older in Nemesis.
Either way, I just don't really care too much. I'm willing to understand the, like I love when Marvel does that. When Marvel makes, someone when Marvel makes Samuel L. Jackson look 30 years younger to be in Captain Marvel, it's an amazing feat.
That is the best example because, in all the other versions, it was a little wonky, I think.
Oh, I don't think that's the case with, Michael Douglas looks really good in Guardians 2.
Guardians.
No, I'm sorry,
Michael
Ant-Man.
Douglas.
Ant-Man.
Okay,
sorry.
All right.
I always get these two confused. I always get their names wrong, and I thought I was doing it right, and I still did it wrong.
I think he looks really awesome. The shorter the amount of the scene is, like Peggy looked bad.
Interesting. I
thought.
Didn't think so. Well, wait. Peggy was just about. I don't agree. I don't think Peggy looked bad. Because Peggy was pretty close to the right age at that point. I don't think they didn't have to go very far. I do think that the old age on Peggy looked a little sketchy.
Yeah, but anyway,
that stuff doesn't normally bother me very much. And the point is, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I more care the story they're trying to tell. I can forgive sort of production, like budgetary issues where you can't make someone look exactly like they looked or whatever. But that's great. I'm glad you dig it because you're much more critical of that stuff normally.
I can be. I might actually watch it and go, "Oh God, that's terrible."
Yeah,
what happened?
I think it might be weird the choice of shot they used in that moment. It's like a super close up, and it kind of makes it's not very flattering close up. It's like I feel like they probably could have done better, better choice. I don't know, maybe. Anyway. What other news came out?
Well, I will say that, like, during the panel, Jerry Ryan and Brent Spiner came out, and Jonathan Del Arco, who's playing Hugh in the show, which is a surprise.
Super exciting.
That is crazy, and that's one of those, I've always wondered, like, what the hell happened to Hugh? Like, I wish they could have, let us in on that. I guess they're going to. And, we didn't talk about this because it just happened. I guess I've been saying it all along, but apparently Michael Chabon was announced as the showrunner a couple weeks ago. I seriously thought they announced that months ago.
Okay, cool.
But whatever. And,
what else has he showrun?
I don't think he's showran anything. He's, he wrote Calypso.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I like Calypso a lot.
And he's a writer. He's written a bunch of stuff.
Cool.
Like a bunch of books and stuff. Like, Cavalier and Clay and Telegraph Avenue. He's a good writer.
Okay, cool.
But Michael Chabon revealed that, Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis will show up on the show. Like, Riker and Troy are back.
Nice. I'm assuming over the course of this series, we're going to get almost everybody back. In some form or fashion.
Maybe.
I can't imagine Geordi's not coming back. Right?
Yeah.
Geordi's got to come back. He's just still so beloved and one of the most beloved characters. For me, I think he is my favorite character. So, in the original TNG, I really loved Geordi. As he has gone on to do other things, I just really like him. I really like LeVar Burton. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to see him come back. I think he could come back with some style and, like, really just, I always just liked him as engineer. Yeah. I'd like to see him at least be on the show somewhere.
I always liked seeing him show up in things like when he showed up in, I think it was Timeless on Voyager. Hell, I think had a special, place in my heart for the episodes he directed of Voyager. When I see his name, I think I like those episodes more.
Very cool.
I like LeVar. But, so they've got Michelle Hurd. She's going to be playing a character named Rafi Musiker, I don't know, who has an unrelated relationship with Picard's past. She said it's a delicious character to play. Santiago Cabrera is playing, Cristobal. That has to be on purpose, right? Cristobal.
Right.
Chris Rio as an ex-Starfleet officer. We got Harry Treadaway as Narek. Evagoria as Elnor, and we did get confirmation that Picard's dog's name is number 1.
Oh, that's great. That is wonderful.
Because they put out the poster a couple days ago, and he had a little dog, and on the collar you see a number 1 on there. That is the dog's name.
That is so good. I love that so much. And I really can't wait for Riker to meet that dog. Yeah, that's classic.
Uh-huh. Oh. He's just gonna give the same look he gave Picard from Nemesis when Picard said Mr. Troy.
Yeah. Good stuff. Man, I'm so excited about this show. This is, I know you're resistant to this exact sentence, but this is what I really want out of Star Trek. And I don't just mean like, I don't want to shit on Discovery by any means. I like Discovery. It has grown on me even more than I liked it in the beginning. And our rewatch really changed my mind on some of the things I didn't like to begin with. And some of the, like, doing this cast, we've really dug in pretty hard on Discovery and tried to like it and tried to do research on, like, the hologram issues and then the issues with the communication, whatever, all the things. They're starting to make a lot more sense to me. Mm-hmm. But I always just wanted Star Trek to move forward.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me. And like, even like Picard or not, I'm just very excited to see the future of the Federation and to see what's happening with the Borg and all of these characters. I'm just so excited. Yeah.
I care less about the future of the Federation, more about the characters, but I'm resistant to that notion of give the fans what they want. And I've heard a lot of people bash Discovery, like, finally, instead of stupid Discovery, they're giving the fans what they want. And I've seen so many people say that on Twitter, and I oppose that to some degree, but just because I'm a DC guy, I'm a DC fan, I've seen where that leads.
Right.
And it leads to entitled fans and splintered fan bases. Like, I'm watching all these different segments of the DC Comics fan base just like riot with each other online. And it splinters the fan base in such a way that you can't please everyone.
Right. Well, anytime you have a thing that's this loved, any kind of changes are going to be hard to swallow. Any kind of new thing is going to be hard to swallow. And I really hope that, this is just good enough that it can capture the fan base. And I think with Picard in it, it might be the thing that kind of holds the hands of the fan in a way that says, hey, it's Picard. Now let's show you a different kind of Star Trek. It's not, I highly doubted this is going to be an episodic show. I don't think it'll be a morality tale every episode kind of show. I love those kinds of shows. I grew up on Star Trek that way, but I don't think that's what this is going to be. And so I am just excited to see what they do with it,
Oh, yeah. And one of the great things, like, the first place I saw the trailer, the Picard trailer, was on Facebook. And I saw a comment, like, like an older guy said, if it's going to be on CBS All Access and I have to pay for it, and I'm not watching it. He says, if I want Star Trek, I'll watch the Orville. And then, like, the next thing that I saw when I scrolled down was that the Orville is going to Hulu exclusively. And I just laughed and laughed.
That's funny. I love the Orville. But it's just different. It's a different kind of storytelling. And I think that these days, telling that sort of episodic moral storytelling that the Orville does every week, and I love it. It's really great. Check out the Orville Universe podcast. But, plug.
Oh yeah, you did do that. You did start that, didn't you?
Yeah, man. It's up and running. We're like 5 or 6 episodes in. We're doing a rewatch of the first 2 seasons in preparation for season 3.
That's awesome.
It's great stuff.
You guys can go enjoy Matt's podcast while it lasts, because, you know what happens when Hulu takes on a show exclusively.
Oh, I don't know about that. Like, I think that in the past, that's been a successful model. I don't know. A lot of shows these days are getting picked up by streaming services and just becoming the way the shows are watched.
But Hulu, like, will pick something up and then cancel it, like, a year later.
Right. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, it's going to last forever, but I just think the Orville has a ton of potential. The thing that drives me crazy about the Orville, I immediately, after liking it so much after the first 2 episodes, I started looking for merch. Because, merch can be the thing that keeps a show running. There's no merch out there.
Yeah.
What are they doing? There's so many people like me who are like, oh yeah, the Orville's like my new, like, fix for the old style Star Trek. It's just got added jokes, I like it a lot. And then I can't buy a little ship to put on my dashboard or whatever.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Get on it.
Like, StarTrek.com just had a sale on some of their shirts. Like, and me and Bethany both got disco shirts.
Nice.
Yeah, they were like $10 a piece.
I bought a full-on disco uniform, by the way.
Did you?
I did. I'm losing weight, as I've mentioned on the podcast, probably in the past. I'm down 170 pounds. And I didn't want to buy a uniform I wanted a goal uniform that I'm about 40, 50 pounds away from, but I didn't want to buy the classic Trek uniform until I get down to my actual goal weight. So I was like, you know what? A disco uniform. That'll be a nice, like, middle of the road. Like, I'll lose 40 or 50 pounds, fit into that, and wear it for a couple of months or whatever. And then once I get down to my eventual goal weight, I might get some other Trek uniforms.
Yeah. I don't have that inclination at all to get uniforms.
I don't know. It was a good driving force. I bought a Star-Lord duster that you have worn. And I would
love to try it on again now that I'm 80 pounds lighter.
Yeah, man, you'd be because I fit into it now. You would be just swallowed up at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Star-Lord could swallow me.
Come on, man. You could swallow Star-Lord. All right, let's, I know, I can see how that relationship would play out.
I don't know how to feel about those words.
Sorry.
No, you're not, you lying bastard.
Not that sorry. All right. So let's get into the next thing. Is there any more Picard news to talk about before we dive into the short Trek stuff?
Not to my knowledge. I think they gave me as much as I could handle.
Yeah, man, for real.
Oh, I do want to say, like, and I don't know that I said this on the show because we did have a short conversation before the show started. I am so excited to see Annika. I'm so excited to see 7 of 9, like, actually, like, her development happening.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. I always wanted to see that happen more and more. Like, I'm like, put your hair down, be a person, stop being Data. And now she is, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Like, I paused it hoping that Admiral, by the way, was Janeway that Picard was talking to.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I did the same thing, and I was like, no, not Janeway.
I was gonna say, and I think I got sidetracked, I really hope they steer clear of the Reeves-Stevens Shatner syndrome, where they just completely grab people from shows and throw them into Picard. Not like, oh yeah, it makes total sense that entire galaxy Kira is going to show up and hang out with Picard for a minute. Like, I don't want that.
I hear you. I hear that, like, you want it to be plausible, but to me, especially Bajor, they're just easy ways to write this shit. Like, there's plenty of reason to believe that they might need to go to the only stable wormhole in existence. That might just be like, by the time DS9 ends, that's just like a really regular travel route. And with their new relationship with the Dominion and everything, like, hopefully we'll get a glimpse of that. And it's very possible season 2, maybe there'll be a Dominion storyline, and maybe they have to go through the wormhole, and then it's easy to throw a little Kira in there.
Or not only that, if there's some reason that they need Picard to go talk to the Bajorans, because he was one of the first people to really get in there and try to convince them to join the Federation back in the Next Generation days.
Absolutely. But, they could finally join the Federation, which would be a kick in the face to the people who wrote DS9. But maybe it's time. Maybe 20 years later, they finally decide to join the Federation, and Picard is there in a ceremonial fashion because he started the peace talks to begin with. You know, there's plenty of ways you could do it and it not feel forced. There are lots of connections, and not to mention, he might need an old friend and need to go find O'Brien, who's still over there making that station work, you know?
You know, I think at the end of DS9, O'Brien actually accepted a teaching position at Starfleet Academy.
Oh, well, that's even easier for O'Brien. But as you said, I don't really care about, I'd love to see DS9. I would, but I don't really care about the ships and the stuff as much as I do the people and where they are. And it's much easier to bring O'Brien and Worf and Kira and whoever else, Odo, into the storyline than it is to get Picard to run through DS9.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. You know, we just sat here for 2 seconds and came up with 16 reasons he could meet all those people. Like, there are easy story reasons you could do that.
Yeah. But we're awesome.
But we're awesome. That's true. Well, let's talk these short treks. We got a short treks trailer as well, so we're going to dive into that. So the first thing I was very excited about the short treks trailer is how much of Pike's crew it seems like we're leaning into.
Oh yeah.
It looks like at least 2 of the 6 short treks this year?
Yeah. I believe they actually did say
it says it has a list of them at the end of the trailer. I think I counted 6. But so 6 treks, and it looks at least 2 of them are going to be involving the Pike's Enterprise crew, who I just love. I just love them from Discovery, and I think Pike is one of the big standouts of Discovery so far.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be 3 that are about Pike and crew.
Wow, 3 of the 4. Dang.
And then 2 of them are animated, and one of them is Picard. Star Trek Picard, a Star Trek Picard story.
Ooh. Wow. It's interesting they didn't show any of the animated ones.
Well, I think they're still working on those. They are, like, one of them is directed by Michael Giacchino, who scored the J.J. Abrams Trek movies and Lost and Fringe and Up and maybe the new Batman trilogy with Matt Reeves and the Planet of the Apes movie. He's scored a ton of stuff.
Interesting. That means we got nothing so far in those short treks. There's no Picard that I saw.
Right.
There's also the one with the Tribbles. I was assuming that was not going to be on the Enterprise because it just seemed like it was a separate thing. With H. John Benjamin.
H. John Benjamin. Archer himself.
Yes. Oh, man. I love Star Trek, but he's my favorite Archer. Yeah, so I just love H. John Benjamin, and I was assuming that was a different crew or a different ship, just because nothing in the Tribbles were never shown with the Enterprise crew in the trailer. So I just thought that was going to be a nice little Tribble story.
That might be a separate thing, because I'm looking at this and it says they said some of the short treks will involve Spock, number 1, and Pike, and then there will be 3 new stories. So it might just be 2, and then just like a separate one that's just aboard whatever ship.
Gotcha. It looked to me like there's going to be a bottle episode in the turbo lift with Spock and number 1.
Which looks fantastic.
Yes. Oh, man. Oh, I loved the line, have you ever considered that the Prime Directive is immoral as well as illogical?
Yep.
It's a discussion we have on the Orville Universe podcast all the time, because as far as we can tell thus far, there is no Prime Directive on the Orville. There are some rules about primitive civilizations, but not the same Prime Directive.
Right.
Which is one of the most fun things about doing the Orville podcast, is discussing some of the things they intentionally didn't do. They made the Federation, but they changed certain very key elements to make it just a little different. Like they don't have transporters, which makes all of their battles a little more interesting because they have to think of interesting ways to do things. Anyway. That's neither here nor there. Sorry. But it looks like they have a bottle episode in the turbo lift, and then some sort of episode starring Pike where he gets captured.
Where he's in a prison, yeah.
Yeah, and then a Tribbles episode where it looks like H. John Benjamin discovers the amazing way the Tribbles multiply, and it looks like he thinks they're going to be a great food source because he's made the greatest discovery, which is so funny. Oh man, that's good. That last line of the trailer, so furry, it tickles. Makes me laugh every time.
All of this looks great. Dude, I loved that Spock reports in screaming. And she's like, instant Spock, no need to shout. Cause in the cage, he just shouts constantly. Check the circuit! The women! Like, he's just ridiculous. Like, he's yelling constantly.
That's awesome.
So that's a lot of fun. And Alex Kurtzman did say on the panel that, the way they did short treks last season, was that they were going to drop these episodes that are these little short things that didn't seem to really link into the upcoming season. And that's apparently the way they're looking to go this time.
Okay, because last season, almost everything they did linked in somehow.
Yeah, he says we're going to do that again. He does say some of them will involve Spock, number one, and Pike. There will be 3 new stories. 2 of them are animated, and they won't be in the style of either of the Lower Decks or Nickelodeon series. He says they're quite different. One will be directed by Michael Giacchino, who scored Star Trek by Abrams. One of them will be directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi, who is the main director on Discovery. And that's going to be in a totally different style. And the last one will be a Picard teaser. And it will give you a sense of what happened to Jean-Luc 15 years before we enter the series.
Ooh, man. Do you think that'll retell some of Countdown?
I don't know.
That seems like about the right time period for it. Man. So excited. This is so much fun, man. I'm just loving talking about Star Trek again and having so much to talk about. I've really loved what they've done with Discovery up till now, like finally, and this is just the next evolution in that. I've also been thinking a lot about with all the stuff they're doing with Picard, and I think it will bring a lot of the old fans back. I'm even thinking, even on our little podcast here, we might get a lot of new people listening because there's a Picard trailer. So if you're new, thanks for coming and hanging out. We're going to talk Star Trek every week.
Well, not every week, apparently.
Well, every time.
As much as we can.
When there's new content, we tend to produce every week. But when there's a big drought like this, we're kind of a little more quiet.
Oh, it says here that Pike is going to be in the episode with H. John Benjamin.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. He also says captain in that one moment in a sort of pregnant way. He says something like, "Thank you, Captain," into the camera, basically. And I wonder if that's supposed to be a tease that we're going to see another captain. Maybe another captain that we should know.
Oh, Kurtzman also says the Spock in number 1 is stuck in the turbo lift is going to be written by Michael Chabon.
Sweet.
Who did Calypso and the Picard showrunner.
Nice. I like him.
Now, here's a cool thing. They were talking to Heather Caden, who's an executive producer, and she told this is another outlet, that Calypso, she said we're definitely going to see that sometime down the line. They are planning more with Calypso.
Awesome. I have a feeling we might see it in Discovery or something like it. At least more with that world.
She says we definitely want to deal with that story in particular down the line, especially with that actor Aldous Hodge.
Great. I love Aldous Hodge. He's awesome.
Now, during the SDCC, Kurtzman said that he says there's speculation about Pike and Spock and number 1 getting their own show. So I guess the question for you guys is, do you want to see them get their own show? And the crowd roared with positive affirmation, and he says, okay, we'll think about it.
What a troll. That makes me think they're actually planning to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, he knows it. He knows what they have with those guys, those actors. It's going to be tough because we know the end for Pike. And, like, the fact that Pike knows his end could be a very interesting thing to do for a few seasons. But I don't know, like, him having wants and desires for himself, his own life, and knowing where he's going, knowing where it has to end, like, man, that's all interesting stuff to deal with. That in itself is a good idea for a science fiction plot, you know?
Yeah.
And
hell, I think you're selling me on it. That's
well, like placing that, cause it kind of puts a meta perspective on it, because part of the problem with Discovery is we all know where it ends. That part of the problem with any prequel is we all know where it ends. What if the character knew where it ends? And that's kind of what they've done with Pike, and if they did a Enterprise show, it would be like, in the light of knowing how this ends, how can we tell these stories? And even with the character himself knowing how it ends. That is a cool meta idea.
And, you know, it doesn't have to be a long, like, I find that I'm still struggling to not think of these things as like 7-year adventures. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have to be that long. They can be limited series that are just quality series, like 10, 13 episodes apiece, and then just be done. They don't have to continue on.
Absolutely. And that's something that they talked about. Like, they talked about that Con limited series. It seems like that might be on the scrap heap for now, or maybe pushed back or something. I haven't heard anything about it, and I heard troubles about it, I think. But they've been talking about that way, and once you're just subscribed to CBS All Access, if they just keep good Star Trek coming, it doesn't matter if it's one show anymore. It doesn't matter if they have any ongoing series happening. They could do a Picard series followed by a Riker series followed by a Data series. And if they're all good and all quality, like Star Trek fans would be there and on board and watching it. And it would, not only that, but it'd be exciting the, sort of back catalog, because I'm definitely wanting to watch some of those key Picard episodes. And now that we've seen the trailer, like we've talked about that, watching some of the key Picard episodes before we get to the Picard series in January. Is that right?
I think
it's
so.
January. We've been trying to get to do some more episodes, but now that we know where it's going, like I'd really like to rewatch those Borg episodes. I'd really like to rewatch some of the key Data episodes. As much as I don't want to watch it, I'd like to rewatch Nemesis to discuss like what other links it might have. That is all very interesting to me, and it seems like it could be a really good way to go. I don't know.
I do. I like the idea of bringing in, people from the other series. I just want them to do it organically. And, I think we can have our cake and eat it too if we play our cards right, honestly.
Right. For me, it's all about quality. It's all about quality. And I've been saying it for years with Marvel. Like, people complain about the sort of Marvelification of all media. Like, and I think like, it's something, we've discussed this, and I don't know if this will start a can of worms, but I think it's something that DC has suffered from. Because, and a lot of other universes have, because they want, everything has to be a big universe now, because Marvel did it so well and to such success. And the reason I think Marvel's been able to pull it off is because they generally have kept the quality high. And it's like, you can keep a connected universe going. You can make your audience watch 30 things so they understand this, 3-hour epic. They have to watch 30 other movies. You can do that as long as the quality is high enough to pull people along. But it's hard to keep them engaged if you just have like one or two, a few bad ones in a row, and people start to lose interest. It becomes a narrative about how things are heading in one direction or the other. I mean, it's just like, they tried to make a universe with the Transformers, and they still are trying to make a universe with the Transformers. Fast and the Furious is doing it now. Everybody's doing it. But as long as the quality is high, you keep people thinking this is going in the right direction, then it's only upwards, it's only upside.
Hobbs and Shaw looks great. I want to see that
Shaw
shit
does look great. I've been on board with the Fast and Furious for a long time, and I love Jason Statham, and I love The Rock. So
yeah, like we saw that in the theater. We saw that trailer in the theater, and my wife looks at me and goes, "Can we just skip the other 7?" And I said, "You say that whenever we see a new Fast and Furious movie. You say, can we just skip the other 6? Can we just skip the other 5? Let's just watch the movies."
Yeah, they get successful. They get better. They get much, much better. But I think it's weird. The first one's actually sort of a small film. About like an undercover cop deal. The first one, you ever seen Point Break?
No.
Okay. Anyone out there will know. The first one is Point Break. It's the exact plot of Point Break, and it's kind of funny because you can watch it like beat for beat. There's multiple moments. They're like, oh, this is that moment from Point Break. But it's about an undercover cop dealing with a bunch of street racers. But by the 7th one or whatever, they are just superheroes. It's insanity.
That's hilarious, and I'm down. I want to see it.
I'll watch them with you. You and Bethany should watch them and do a Fast and the Furious podcast.
Absolutely not. I just want to enjoy things without having to make a podcast about it.
See, I think that's where me and you differ. I really, really enjoy making podcasts about things because it enhances my enjoyment of the thing. Like watching a thing and then talking about it for an hour is a big part of my enjoyment of a thing.
Yeah, I love the talking about it, and I love the interaction with people, but it's all the other work that goes into it.
Yeah, that's why I don't do any of that.
Yeah. Me too.
These days, I just honestly, all along, I just make a podcast, throw it up. All the social media, I wish I had somebody doing all that social media stuff, and I know for Star Trek you do a lot of it, for this cast, but a lot of the casts I do, I just I throw it up. It's just there. People want to find it, great. If not, I'm having a great time discussing all this stuff, man. So,
yeah,
just a good time.
I'm getting closer to that ideal.
Good. Because, if people find your stuff, great. If not, you're having a good time doing what you're doing, Mm-hmm. Any other news about these short treks we want to dive into before we move on to other business?
Not about the short treks, I don't think.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, let's clang the gavel on that and move on to other business.
All right, so there was a whole lot of talk on Discovery's panel. Now, they did, do all the same stuff, like, well, it's going to be canon, it's going to honor Gene Roddenberry, whatever. That's all producer talk.
Yeah.
Now, Alex Kurtzman said when they get to the other side of the wormhole that they went through, the spoilers for Discovery.
Yeah, spoilers for Discovery. If you're new, we're probably going to discuss some Discovery stuff. So
yeah, we absolutely are. When they get to the other side of the wormhole, they have big problems. In fact, even getting to find each other may be maybe difficult because they may not have landed in the same place.
Ooh, that might, maybe that's why the ship is by itself somewhere. Maybe they don't even end up on Discovery. I assume we're going to get back to Discovery somehow because the show's called Discovery. But the clever thing about the show being called Discovery is they could just be making discoveries. Interesting.
And apparently there's also going to be a whole lot of exploration of what the world looks like 1,000 years from now, which is something that you and I both very much want.
Yes. It's a great thing, and it's a great thing they're jumping that far in the future too, because they can do whatever the fuck they want on Picard, and it's very unlikely that the changes being made in the distant future will really impact our character movements in the past. Mm-hmm.
And crazily enough, they introduced a new character. There's an actor coming aboard, David Ajala, who did a fantastic job on Supergirl last season as Manchester Black. And he'll be playing a character named Cleveland Booker, or Book. And
is he a shepherd?
I thought about that too. Mm-hmm. It does say Book is a character that is going to break the rules a little bit. It's always fun to break the rules, and we do that right from the start of the season. Kurtzman said about the character, he will be a character who isn't exactly what you expect right away.
I don't know how to feel about that sentence.
He's a Klingon, damn it. He's a Klingon in disguise. He's Ash Tyler all over again.
You think? Is that what it is?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm just being a dick.
I thought you said it with such surety that I was on board. Such confidence in you today. Interesting. I don't like that sentence because it's like, he'll be what you don't expect right away. But we don't know him yet. How do we have any expectations?
No, I think he's saying he's not exactly what you expect right away. Like, what you expect right away is not what he is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then why are you telling me that? Now you got me looking around corners and I still don't like it. just being an asshole. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. What else we got?
We got some Star Trek Lower Decks news.
Neat. I saw some of these cells you sent me.
Yeah. Well, first off, exciting news. David Mack, who's a really pretty well-known Star Trek writer, says now it can be told because my agent secured me permission from the production company. I am excited to be working as a consultant on 2 new Star Trek animated TV series, Lower Decks, and another whose details remain classified. And that's all I can say about that. #dream job.
Wow.
And someone asked him about it. He says, they create, I merely advise. He did clarify that. When he posted that, Kevin and Dan Hagman, who do Troll Hunters, the Lego movie, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and who also are developing this Nickelodeon animated show, which is going to be all CGI, they responded with the gifs going, shh. So I'm assuming he's also working on the Nickelodeon. That's the other one is classified he can't talk about.
Okay, gotcha.
Now let's talk about this stuff that got dropped at Comic-Con though. We got Fred Tatasciore as Lieutenant Shax, which Fred Tatasciore he's a guy who has done a ton of voice work, like an ungodly amount of voice work over the years. We've got Dawn Lewis as Captain Freeman, and I don't know if you know her. She was Jaleesa on A Different World, and she was on Hanging with Mr. Cooper. That's what I know her from because I'm a kid of the 90s.
Right.
We got Jerry O'Connell as Commander Ransom.
Okay, interesting. I know.
And Gillian Vigman as Dr. Ta'ana, which looks like a doctor who's a cat. And then there are the real stars of the show. And we got Jack Quaid as Ensign Boimler, Tawny Newsome as Ensign Mariner. And by the way, Tawny Newsome is also going to be the host of the official Star Trek podcast, Prime Directive.
Screw those guys.
Yeah, don't listen to that. Listen to us.
Time can be spent better over here.
You'll have more fun.
Probably more fun, and we'll say when things suck. That's what you can count on from us.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about third party podcasting is like, we love Star Trek. We are here to support it, but part of supporting the thing we love is saying when it sucks.
Yeah, that's how that works. You'd be a great dad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, man. I'm going to tell that thing when it sucks.
We've got that thing. Oh my God.
Well, it's not a thing yet. I can call it a thing when it's not a thing yet.
It's not. You've got Eugene Cordero as Ensign Rutherford and, Noelle Wells as Ensign Tindy. She looks like she's Orion.
Neat.
Yeah, they look interesting, and I don't know why Ensign Mariner is holding a batleth. She doesn't look Klingon.
Yeah, but so did neither did Dax.
That's right. That's right. Now, Variety has a little bit more about the Jack Quaid Ensign Boimler character. As previously announced, the series will focus on the support crew serving on one of Starfleet's least important ships. Quaid will voice the character of Ensign Brad Boimler. Described as a total stickler, Boimler does everything by the book. While great at sci-fi stuff, he's completely bound to the rules. He doesn't know how to follow his gut, and if he wants to be a captain someday, he's going to have to learn how to improvise. Mike McMahon, this is the former Rick and Morty script editor's show. I'm really excited about this. I think Star Trek should have gone to animation outside of the original animated series a long time ago. So
yeah, I'm down. I don't follow much animation in my life. Like, I just don't have much animation that I watch except for Rick and Morty. So they picked the showrunner or whatever has been chosen wisely as his relation to Rick and Morty. So I'm pumped for that. I guess, and Archer, which they're also choosing, with the short treks, they're putting Archer in it. So, man.
They're saying that it is not a very important ship. Every Star Trek is about family. This one is as well. It is set in 2380 after Nemesis on a ship called the USS Sirtis, a California-class ship, and the showrunner Mike McMahon says the holodeck breaks down all the time.
It sounds like they're going to do a lot of holodeck episodes. Because that's always the holodeck breaking down is always cause for drama. Because it always, it does, there's a really wonderful episode of, I think it's from, it's some YouTube channel that I watch, has a episode about is the holodeck worth it? And they just talk about how many episodes of The Next Generation is the holodeck gone awry and wanting to kill everyone.
That doesn't even count Voyager, probably.
No, yeah. No, I think he does dive into that too. But yeah, it's a ton of episodes where I don't think DS9 had that many episodes where they were trying to kill the crew. Most of the time they actually use the holodeck for recreation on DS9.
Well, it was the hollow suite,
Sure.
for one thing. So it wasn't a whole deck. So that's a smaller thread.
Oh, interesting. I never considered that it was a deck. I thought the holodeck was just the name of the thing. I never considered that it was an entire deck of the ship.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's an interesting take on that. It's a weird thing not to know, I guess. I don't know. I just assumed holodeck was just what they called the thing.
But please note our man Bashir from Deep Space Nine when the holodeck malfunctioned and everyone was stuck in a spy thriller.
Yeah, which was a great episode.
Oh yeah, one of my favorites.
But yeah, they do it from time to time. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But I feel like in Next Generation of Voyager, it was more common.
Mm-hmm. All right. So moving on, the 40th motion picture release has been hinted at. During the Inglorious Trek-Spurts podcast, there was a Comic-Con panel that focused on the 40th anniversary of Star Trek The Motion Picture, and David Fain, a producer of the 2001 director edition of the motion picture. And if you haven't seen the director's edition of Star Trek The Motion Picture, it is far superior. And they haven't released it on Blu-ray. They've only released it on a special edition DVD. And he said that he and members of the team who worked on the director's edition were in talks with Paramount to develop the 4K version for release on Blu-ray and 4K.
Cool.
All right. So I doubt you've seen the 4K, the director's edition. What they did is they, like, back in 79, like, they were over, they blew past their deadline.
Okay.
And they were basically, like, cutting the film up to, like, the last minute, like, before the premiere.
Gotcha. So they had a chance to really cut it down or something?
Yeah, they literally, like, were editing this thing until they said, we can't edit anymore, we've got to go. People were waiting in the theater while they were still editing, man. So in 2001, they brought in Robert Wise, who directed the original, and they did some edits for pacing. They did some minor fixes. They did some changes to the special effects that needed to be done, and you could see it when you look at it. It needed it. There were a couple of bits where you're like, oh, that wasn't finished for some reason. Right.
And I think that generally that film just needed some editing. Like, they needed to cut it down.
Yeah.
In my mind.
So, yeah, I am super excited for the notion of them putting the director's edition out in 4K and Blu-ray, because by God, that's my edition of the motion picture. I've watched the standard, for years, and then I watched the extended TV release for years, which the extended TV release has an extra scene or two, but one of them is like Kirk getting in his little spacesuit and going out to fetch Spock. You can literally see, like, scaffolding and, like, in wood and shit, like, from the studio, like, that they just shoved in there to make it fit the TV runtime.
Wow, that's awful.
So yeah, I would love to see the director's edition show up in 4K. I'm really excited about that, if that is actually happening. It's not officially greenlit though.
Okay.
Here's the last thing I think I have to talk about. It happened like last week, and I told Bethany about it and just thought it was really funny. Deadline was talking to Quentin Tarantino about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then they asked him about his Star Trek project, and he says, I don't know if I'll direct it or not. I've got to figure it out, but Mark wrote a really cool script. That's Mark L. Smith, who wrote The Revenant. He says, I like it a lot. There's some things I need to work on, but I really, really like it. And then he says, because they asked him about Simon Pegg, because Simon Pegg's been talking about how it's not going to be not Star Trek, it's going to be this and that. Tarantino says, I get annoyed at Simon Pegg. He doesn't know anything about what's going on, and he keeps making all these comments as if he knows about stuff. One of the comments he said, he's like, well, look, it's not going to be Pulp Fiction in space. Yes, it is. If I do it, that is exactly what it'll be. It'll be Pulp Fiction in space. That Pulp Fiction-y aspect. When I read the script, I felt I have never read a science fiction movie that has this shit in it, ever. there's no science fiction movie that has this in it. And they said, I know, that's why we want to make it. It's at the very least, unique in that regard. And he does say that it's going to be R-rated. He doesn't think it's that big of a deal. He says if he does the project, they're going to do it his way. And he cites Deadpool as J.J. Abrams and Paramount as looking at Deadpool and saying, that it can work. As J.J. said, Quentin, I love this idea because I think with Star Trek we can go any way we want to. He says, look, I've got a situation. As long as Paramount likes the idea and the script, they almost got nothing to lose right now when it comes to Star Trek. Deadpool showed that you can rethink these things, do them in a different way. So really, even before JJ knew what the idea was, his feeling was if it wants to be an R rating, fine. If it wants to be the Wild Bunch in space, fine. And he also decided to say that he's a big fan of the show Star Trek. He really loved it. He says, my portal into that show was William Shatner. I love William Shatner on Star Trek. I love his performance as James T. Kirk. That is my connection. That is my umbilical cord. It's why I like Star Trek more than Star Wars, because William Shatner's not in Star Wars. I think it's one of the greatest performances in the history of episodic television, of a series lead, and rightly so, because very few series leads have ever gotten the opportunity to play all the different wild, crazy things. And he did go on to say that he loved the J.J. Abrams 2009 Star Trek and the new Kirk and Spock. He says, I actually really was so taken with J.J. Abrams' first reboot and how fantastic I thought Chris Pine channeled William Shatner. He didn't go a serious actory way. He said, well, no, I'm going to do my own thing. He's playing the William Shatner version of Kirk, and he's doing a fantastic job at it. I mean, perfect, frankly. And Zachary Quinto is perfect as Spock. So yeah, I just think it's really funny. I love that Tarantino is just
he's salty,
nope.
Man.
Simon Pegg sucks. He doesn't know anything. I'm doing Pulp Fiction to space. Kiss my ass.
Yeah, that's real funny. And he's just so salty. He's so salty. I dig it.
He is. I'm like, so are you guys not working together? You're not going to have Simon Pegg on the movie? Because it sounds like you don't want Simon Pegg anywhere near it.
No, I don't think it sounds like that. It sounds like he's just annoyed at the press coverage of Simon Pegg up till now, is how I took that. Mm-hmm. He's just annoyed that he's out there talking, because I think Simon Pegg's trying to say, I'm still working on Star Trek. Like, he may even still be trying to make his fourth Star Trek movie. Like, he's still trying to see, he's trying to say Star Trek is still in the kinds of hands that it's been in. And, Tarantino's like, I'll do whatever I want to do with it,
Yeah. Which, is looking more and more like the remerger of Viacom and Paramount is going to happen. So TV and movies will be back under the same company. They're even talking about an announcement's probably coming in August.
Wow.
And Star Trek is definitely a part of that conversation.
Cool, man. That's rad.
So I'm very interested to see, and for the record, I absolutely want Tarantino to direct a Star Trek if he wants to.
Yeah. Me too. I'm interested in it. As I've said it many times, but we may have new folks listening since this new Picard trailer, and I worry about the bifurcation or the trifurcation of the Star Trek fandom / content, that we're gonna have kids Star Trek and kind of medium Star Trek. It's and Torchwood Star Trek, whatever, putting the adult, having an adult table and a kid's table, and then having the sort of mushy middle. I kind of like that, it's a multi-generational show that you can, but we don't watch TV like that anymore, is the truth. We don't sit down with our parents and watch TV like we used to.
No, we don't.
Obviously we don't, but,
parents don't sit down and watch TV like they used to.
True.
You remember your parents used to sit down and watch TV together?
Yeah, that's true.
My parents don't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's tricky. My mom and dad do. My mom and dad still do that. But it's always been my dad watches TV and my mom is doing stuff around the house and just kind of breezes through and sits down and watches 20 minutes and then gets up and misses the end. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad watches his TV in the back bedroom. My mom watches Netflix on her phone.
Yeah. I'm sure that's what's going on now. I mean, we've always, now that we have phones, now that we have content devices in our pockets, I'm sure that leads into these sorts of bifurcations of the fan base and of the content. I just, there needs to be bridges between all of it so that kids can eventually be into Star Trek. Like, I want there to be a way for Star Trek to reach new people, because I do love Star Trek, what it does. Yeah, I think you're right.
They'll find it. They've got Netflix on their phones. Like, I was just hanging out with Jason from DC On Screen, and we're hanging out at the pool, and we go to where he's house sitting for his parents, and they go to take their dog to the kennel, and because they can't be there tonight, and we pull up, and there's a guy and his son. The son's probably 7 years old. And the guy and his son are both separately on their own individual phones, their own individual smartphones, leaned up against the truck. We're like, what the hell, man? Like, these kids, they have their phones, they have access to this stuff, they're finding it. Like, right now, our Prime, and I'm building another website for our podcast. But right now, we're primarily on Tumblr. And whenever I sign on, man, I see people like these 15, 14-year-olds talking about how much they love Next Gen. They're watching it on Netflix. Oh no, we're into DS9. Oh, we're into Enterprise. They're all watching it on Netflix or CBS All Access, because CBS, right now, Netflix has it all. CBS All Access has it all.
Yeah.
Like you can access all those Star Trek shows from either of those services. They're finding it. It's not. I don't know.
What's the
I don't want to say never.
Position Star Trek's making to these people? And this thing. It's just gotta make good content, and it's tricky because right now, like, Picard is going to be a show so steeped in the lore of Star Trek that they're finally speaking the sort of visual and pacing language of the current generation with Discovery and Picard, it seems like. But now Picard is going to be popular, I think, but it's going to be popular in Star Trek fans. I don't know how many young people are going to tune in for Picard because it's so steeped in the lore. You know what I mean? So there's so much background knowledge you need. I mean, it's the same problem you have with people jumping into Marvel right now, where they're like, I had a lot of people, because Endgame was the biggest movie in the world. A lot of people were asking me, like, what do I have to watch to understand it? And I'm like, here's 6 movies maybe. You can get it down to 6 or 7 that, like, would make you understand what's going on at least.
Yeah. And my answer would be, it is not for you.
Yeah, but I hate that.
Go back and watch it all. It sucks, but that's the price of a shared universe culminating into something like that.
Right. Agreed. And I guess that's the thing is you gotta always have things that are bringing new people to it.
It's like that columnist who got his ass handed to him on the internet, who wrote that movie review of Infinity War complaining that they'd take no time to explain the characters. I'm like, they've been explaining these characters for 10 years, dude.
Yeah, they took a long time. Long time.
I have no idea who Thanos is or why I should care. Well, because you're an idiot and didn't watch the other 10 movies.
Right. Not an idiot, but like, you're,
nope,
it's not for
you're
him.
An idiot.
Yeah, as you said in the first place, it's not for him.
Right. It's not for him, but you're an idiot if you think that the 21st movie in a line is going to be the one that, like,
where you should jump in
and go back and tell you, well, no. I feel like Discovery is great for that. You know, like, you don't need anything really to watch Discovery.
No, you don't.
For the most part, you don't need any of that. You don't need to watch any other series to watch any other Star Trek series. I think Star Trek Picard might be the first.
And I'm hoping that even with Picard, it's explained in a way that can bring new folks in. But it'll be interesting. Based on the trailer we've just seen, I don't think it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, man. Well, I think that's about all for me today. What you got? Anything else you want to talk about before we shuffle off this podcast coil?
Nope, that's the name of the podcast now. Shuffling off the podcast coil. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited about all the things. I hope we see Titan, the Titan with Riker and Troy. I want to see everything.
Yeah, me too, man. Can't wait. Very excited. All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back real soon. I'm really hoping my goals for the podcast, I'd really like to, before the new season of Picard, do a short run of Picard-centric episodes. And we keep talking about doing a movie ranking episode, which I'm also down for. So we'll be back hopefully real soon with more stuff for you guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. Live long and prosper. Yeah, right. Help.
To reach out to us, hit us up at StarTrekUcast.com, at Star Trek Ucast on Twitter, or search for the Star Trek Universe Podcast on Instagram or Facebook. And if you want to hear more from David C. Robertson, search for the DC On Screen podcast in your podcast app now, or go to maladjusted.tv for his comedy sketches. If you want to hear more from me, Matthew Carroll, search for the Marvel Cinematic Universe Podcast or the Orville Universe Podcast in your podcast app, or check out my music. Just search for Matthew Carroll wherever you listen to music.